Good morning. Welcome to this press conference on the progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals in the EU. I have the pleasure to welcome Commissioner Gentiloni, who will present the findings of the Eurostat report, which was published this morning. I invite you all to actually check the Eurostat website, which has a dedicated section related to this report, as well as all sorts of information, brochures and data. After a short introduction by the Commissioner, we will then take your questions. Commissioner, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning. We are presenting this 2020 report on the progress on sustainable development goals in EU, which is particularly important this year because we are beginning, as you know, to integrate SDG in the EU coordination policies of the so-called semester. So first of all, I'm pleased to thank Eurostat for their innovative effort to provide a solid statistical basis for this effort to integrate SDG in the semester. Then we are living difficult times, and perhaps this crisis showed us more than ever the importance of interdependence, so the need to link our economic, social and environmental effort. And this is exactly what the 2030 UN Agenda for Sustainable Development is for, and it is what the 17 goals aims to achieve. At the Commission, we are fully aware of the necessity to implement these goals in their entirety, which is why in this College of Commissioners we are all responsible for implementing SDG in our respective fields. The European Green Deal makes clear our ambition to build a modern, resource-efficient, competitive economy. Climate and environmental challenges can be addressed and turned into opportunities while making the transition just and inclusive for all. And this ambition lies at the heart of our recovery plan. This is why, as I told before, we have also begun to integrate the SDGs in our economic policy coordination framework with its new leitmotif of competitive sustainability. This year's country reports feature a new chapter on environmental sustainability and an annex tracking each member state's progress towards SDGs. Delivering on these commitments requires impartial and objective statistical information. And from that, we rely on Eurostat, the guarantor of high-quality and independent statistics for Europe. The report published this morning charts the European Union's progress towards the goal agreed at UN level. The report is, of course, based on data referring to the time before the COVID crisis. So next year we'll have different findings and a real challenge for Eurostat. 2020 report shows that the EU has made progress towards a large number of SDGs over the past 5 years, 2015, 2019. Most progress was achieved towards the goal 16, peace, justice and strong institutions. Life in the EU has become safer as deaths due to homicide or assault has decreased, and fewer Europeans report crime, violence and vandalism in their area. We have also made considerable progress towards Goal 1, no poverty, Goal 3, good health and well-being, followed by Goal 2, zero hunger, and Goal 8, decent work and economic growth. Let me give you a few examples of the statistics underlying these conclusions of progress stronger or weaker. Since 2013, the EU has managed to reduce the number of people at risk of poverty or social exclusion by 12.5 million. In particular, fewer people face problems related to their living conditions, such as overcrowding or lack of sanitary facilities. As regards health and well-being, life expectancy in the EU was still increasing, reaching 81, and more Europeans considered themselves to be in good or very good health in 2018. We live in different times now, but it is important what we achieved in the last 5 years. Fewer people are smoking, and the number of fatal work accidents went down. Real GDP per capita has increased considerably over the past 5 years. Employment rate increased from 68 to 73%, and long-term unemployment decreased from 5.5 to 2.8 between 2014 and 2019. In parallel, agricultural production in the EU has become more sustainable. Organic farming is on the rise across the EU, and its share of total agricultural area grew from 5.9 in 2013 to 8% in 2018. Well, these positive developments over the past 5 years are, of course, strongly challenged now. But thanks to these efforts, the EU is in a better position to face the current health and economic crisis. We will collectively need more sustainable and resilient societies. This is also the lesson of these months. The progress achieved so far is important, but only a starting point. Let me turn to the overall assessment of progress towards Goal 13. On climate action, progress has been made in some areas, while there are still challenges. The EU has already reached its 20% greenhouse gas emissions reduction target for 2020. And we are if we follow this pathway, the plan measure contained in Member State national energy and climate plans, we are projected to meet our 2030 greenhouse gas target. And today's report again lays bare why that matters. Because the fact is that despite these efforts, our countries are increasingly facing the impacts of global climate change. The surface temperature in Europe between 2009 and 2018 was already 1.6 above pre-industrial times, an increase of 0.2% on the preceding decade. As regards goal number 5, gender equality, assessed as equality between men and women, the EU has unfortunately moved away from the Sustainable Development Objectives. Women are still less likely to be employed than men. Caring responsibilities are the main reason why women are not part of the labour force. At the same time, men continue to fall behind women in relation to early school leaving and tertiary education. It is encouraging to see the progress in female representation in national parliaments from a little over 20% at the turn of the millennium to 32.1% last year. But clearly, there is still a long way to go. For 8 goals, the EU made moderate progress over the past 5 years. Sustainable cities and communities, quality education, partnership for the goals, responsible consumption production, affordable and clean energy, reduced inequalities, life on land, industry, innovation and infrastructure. In addition to this assessment at EU level, which Eurostat is doing since 4 years, as I told before, this year's report introduced a new chapter on the status and overall progress of each member state towards the goals. In a visual presentation, you can see where a country stands relative to the worst and the best performing countries. This is the vertical perspective, and whether it has progressed over the last 5 years. And this is the horizontal way to look to these figures, to this table. It is encouraging to see that overall the EU member states are making progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals. For example, countries like Latvia or Romania are still in many areas towards the lower range in the EU, but they are catching up. Other countries like Luxembourg and Sweden, for example, have already reached a high status, but they are moving away from the SDG in areas like the reduction of poverty and inequalities. This new feature is very important, and its importance will grow in next years, because it will provide increasing statistical evidence to support our commitment to put sustainability at the center of the semester and of our economic policy making. And this is why it is so important. Thank you.
Thank you very much.